Professor Gavor. Wow, it's already week 3. I haven't graded your week 2 homework yet. It's Tuesday the 14th. I look forward to doing that hopefully this afternoon or this evening. Both the papers, the discussion, or all three, the papers, discussion, and homework. I'll probably start with discussions, homework, and paper in that order. Looking at week 3, we're going to start, if we look at the first 2 weeks, and if we're talking about models and model building, we started with some simple models. The linear cost and revenue problems. We started with 2 simple statistical distributions, binomial and normal, and played with those. We then in week 2 talked about models for laying out decisions, where you have a couple states of nature, 2, 3, 4 states of nature, and alternatives, and then different schemes for analyzing and helping guide people to those decisions. So it's still a model building. And then the third week, the end of model building, because week 4 and 5 will be about forecasting, we're going to start with inventory. Why inventory, you ask? Well, I'm teaching a class. My background, I spent a lot of time in operations management, and I managed inventories and was responsible for managing inventories for a long time. So I have a great interest in it. Therefore, that's probably why I did it. And also, it leads itself well to model building. I would use a QM in this homework if you possibly can. You don't need to, but let's try to use the QM as much as possible. So it's chapter 6 in the book. Again, there's the PowerPoints are there, a video is there, your same old boring voice that you're hearing right now. There's the original EOQ model. I used to have a vice president of the Latin America division of Colgate used to tell me that all inventory models are based on Ford Harris's, not Harrison Ford, but Ford Harris, his 1913 paper. And here is his 1913 paper. Everything is built on that. We're talking about the EOQ model. You need a little calculus to follow the paper, but it's not real hard to follow. So we got that. We have our discussion on inventory turns. One thing I'd like people to do is to go through and be able to access either using Yahoo Finance, Google Finance. Google Finance has changed a little bit though, or Market Watch, and be able to glean information off the P&L, the balance sheet, and be able to create metrics or ratios that you can look at. So we're going to look at inventory turns and days coverage. And I have these symbols for these companies here, some in consumer products, some in retail, and I've assigned each of you a company to do that. And when it says team leader, that's a team leader. And if you read through here, it'll tell you what the team leader kind of organizes everybody. Then they don't have to post on the other teams at all. They're done. But the rest of you have to do this and then comment on your own team and then comment on the other team and have some fun with it and see. It's hard to compare inventory turns company versus company unless they do exactly the same thing. You'll find that if you look at McDonald's, which Lumani has, or AZO, which Shinnick has, you'll find them at the opposite extremes for inventory turns. And you have to discuss and kind of figure out why. Is there any relationship between inventory and cash? Because we're looking at inventory days coverage, inventory turn, and cash as a percentage of revenues, and trying to see if there's a relationship. Because if inventory goes up or down, theoretically cash should be released or consumed. But you'll find that the relationship is not good because cash is used or raised and goes up and down for many reasons. So anyway, have some fun with this. And if we look at this, you're going to say, well, how do I do it? What do I do? I'm not sure. If you go into the discussion, there's a video on exactly how to do it. And here's some written instructions to accompany the video. It's pretty easy. And if you're having trouble in our Wednesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Online version of the class, log in and ask me. If you want help on that, log in right at 7 o'clock and we will go over it. The more you're struggling, the more I'm impressed if you call in those days with the class. So there's a video that tells you how to do it. There's instructions on how to do it. The homework for week 3. And here's some examples of some of the problems that I've done in previous classes, if you want to look at the Excel version of that. And the homework is pretty simple. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 problems, even though I put 54 and 55 together. You can do it on 2 worksheets for 5 points each or 1 worksheet for 10. I don't care. And do those 5 problems. You're pretty much hopefully used to how I grade them. Make sure that you're organized and make it look good. Have the right answers, and then tell me what the right answers are in the text box so I know that you plucked the right numbers from the right place. Do your work in Excel. I strongly recommend QM for this. Maybe not for the exercise and a newsboy problem, because sometimes QM is a little wonky on that. I think that's it's either 645 or 649. I cannot recall. But you can get clarification on that again tomorrow at the online office hours. So there's no reason to be lost and confused. Let's see what else. Oh, and then since we finished the paper, hey, let's do another one. So this is about the theory of constraints. This is in the form of an email from me, and I made myself CEO. Feels kind of good. And to you, the Vice President of Operations. At our recent board meeting, one of the board members made a few comments about the theory of constraints as a practical application of constrained optimization. This is a prelude to weeks 6 and 7. She referred that her company had adopted this philosophy or method in their supply chain operations and wondered if we were doing the same. I am sure we are not using these methods per se, since the items were new to me. Please prepare and send me an explanation of what constrained optimization and theory of constraints are. Also tell me if this is something we should consider implementing in our company. If you think this is something we should pursue, would it be a tactical or strategic initiative? I would like to review this on my flight to Asia. Please have it ready for me by 10 p.m. Sunday. Signed, Mark. P.S. This is still a university paper. Provide references and attributions as necessary. PPS. I'm not really flying to Asia. Simply want to give the memo a sense of realism. Third PS. The paper is to be done in MS Word and loaded in Canvas by 10 p.m. Here's what I want to see in the paper, and I will grade it according to this rubric. Title, name, date, course. If you want to write it as an email, that's fine. I like that. That makes it more fun. Resources, you should have at least 5. No Wikipedia. And I'll probably settle for 4 maybe. Annotations and attributions. In other words, if you quote something, if you have a graphic, if you have steps, this, that, the other thing, tell me where it came from. I'm not afraid. I'm encouraging you to use graphics from other sources, and whatever helps you in your paper. But just tell me where it came from, and it should be one of the 5 references that you have. Try to write nice. That's a grammar and the business-like writing style. But you have to explain the following: what is constrained optimization? Did you or did you not cover that? A lot of people think, well, I'm going to write it about the theory of constraints only and not worry about constrained optimization. That would be a mistake. The theory of constraints and the role of Goldratt. This is a process. Remember about processes. I like to see process steps and explanations of what they are. There's a lot of sub-processes and steps. I'll leave it to your judgment what to use and not use. Theory of constraints, overview and process steps. Well, there it is. So first of all, the role of Goldratt, you got to give me some history. Who was Goldratt? If you don't mention anything about Goldratt, I take points off. His name is Eliyahu Goldratt. He wrote a book called The Goal. Theory of constraints, the overview and process steps. Why does it work? How does it work? What's the relation to constrained optimization? It's actually a practical application thereof. And then recommendations. So you have 40 points in this part here. How long should the paper be? Well, we already gone through that. Long enough to cover all these points and not so long that you're boring me to death. Let's see, what else do we have? If you want to share resources with other people, I've put a non-graded discussion here where you can share resources. If you want to keep them to yourselves, that's also okay. I think that's it for this week. Looking ahead to next week, we start forecasting and we talk about linear regression. The week after that, we talk about time series forecasts, not regression, autoregressive methods. And then I think, when is the paper due? I'll assign a paper. Oh, the paper for this one is really the last week. It's the report for your linear program, and we'll figure out whether we do a paper or a PowerPoint, voiceover PowerPoint presentation to the whole class. Okay, so this is where we're at for week 3 already. I thank you very much. I look forward to seeing many of you in the Wednesday evening 7 to 8 p.m. virtual office hours on MS Teams. All the best, and we'll be in touch